Hi, and welcome to this podcast, the IELTS, OET, and UK MLA PLAB 2 Made Easy podcast for medical professionals. My name is Kalsoom, and I specialize in training doctors and nurses to get the score they need in IELTS and OET, and also training doctors on how to improve their clinical communication skills for UK MLA PLAB 2. The aim of this podcast is to arm you with authentic advice from someone who has been teaching these tests, especially IELTS and OET, for over 10 years. I share the core fundamentals of these tests, the essential information, strategies, and advice on what you should be doing and what you need to avoid doing. Anything and everything to make sure you keep moving forward in your preparation and getting you closer to achieving your scores and getting your dream job abroad. I understand and appreciate that your time is busy as medical professionals. You have very limited time, so I do try to keep the episodes short. And one of the advantages of podcasts is that you can listen on the go. So before I get into the main topic of this episode, there are a few things that I'd like to bring to your attention that you can find in the show notes. So you'll find lots of links in the show notes. And firstly, you'll find the link to my free training for OET called OET Success Training, which is a series of 5 videos that take you through all aspects of the test. And I share how you should be preparing and how you can improve your skills. And this training alone has helped so many doctors and nurses get the score they need. If you would like to train with me for OET, then you'll find the link to my flagship OET Success membership group and also a little video which explains how the training works. You'll also find a link to my free PLAB 2 Core Clinical Communication Skills webinar. This is a webinar I delivered earlier last year, where I go through the key clinical communication concepts that need to be present in any consultation. It's an invaluable resource to help you not just for your PLAB 2, but beyond the test and in your careers. If you would like to join my clinical communication mastery for UKMLA PLAB 2, then just drop me an email. This is a group training program of only 8 doctors. So I only take 8 doctors at a time, only 8 doctors in one group. This is to make sure that everybody in the group gets enough practice and feedback. So if you're interested in joining that, then just drop me an email, which leads me to the last thing. You can find my email address and how you can contact me and connect with me on LinkedIn. Hi, and welcome to this episode. In this episode, we're going to look at reading skills and in particular, the skill of skimming and scanning, and the importance of it and how it can help you to score really, really well in the OET reading exam. So if you've ever found yourself reading word for word in the OET test when you're practicing, or if you've done the test before and running out of time, then this episode is definitely for you. So let's first of all look at what skimming and scanning is all about. So skimming is when you quickly read through a text to get the main idea. Think of it like flying over a forest in a helicopter. You're getting the bigger picture, you're getting the overall picture. And scanning is when you're hunting for specific information like dates, numbers, names, or keywords without reading everything. You're on a mission looking for a specific tree in that forest, if you like. So that's a really good way to remember it. So skimming is when you're flying over a forest and you're getting the whole picture, whereas scanning is you're looking for a particular tree in that forest. So both of these skills are essential in becoming a smart reader because a smart reader saves time. A smart reader understands quicker and can process the information more quickly. And these are essential skills, not just for OET, but I'm sure you'll agree, as busy doctors and nurses, this is a skill that you need on a daily basis in your job. So spending time and sharpening these skills will benefit you immensely. So both these skills are essential for OET reading, especially in part A, where time is very tight, and part B and C, where smart reading saves you stress, saves you time, and you get to the answers quickly, especially because there's much more to read, especially in part C. So why does skimming and scanning matter in OET reading? So let's look at it part by part. So part A, you've got 15 minutes and 4 short texts to read. Now, you do not have time to read word for word here. You skim to understand what each text is about, then you scan to find answers quickly. So you're using both skimming and scanning there to get to the answer quickly. Part B, you read short workplace texts. You skim to get the tone or purpose and scan when the question asks for a specific phrase or instruction. So then you are going in with the question, looking for something more specific, and then you're scanning for that. Part C, obviously, these are much longer texts, and there is no way you can read that word for word. You skim each paragraph to understand the main idea and scan when the question refers to a specific line or a section. So if you master these 2 skills, you'll read faster, answer more accurately, and finish on time. In fact, even finish before time and be able to check over your answers. So the question is really, how do you practice these skills? So let's take skimming first of all. How can you practice skimming? The first thing you can do is train your eyes to move fast. So, for example, pick up a newspaper article or an OET text as well, but it's nice to read different things just to expand your reading abilities. And give yourself 30 seconds to skim a paragraph. So choose an article or a document or something, and give yourself 30 seconds, time yourself for 30 seconds to skim through the paragraph. Then pause and ask yourself, what's the main idea? What is the paragraph about? What was the tone? Was it informative? Was it aggressive, persuasive? What did you get in that quick skimming that you did? So you're not reading word for word. You're training your brain to pick up meaning from headings, topic sentences, so the first sentence of each paragraph, and repeated words, right? So that's one way you can practice. Another way you can practice is use the finger slide method. So place your finger or a pen on the text and move it quickly down the page. So don't stop at any word, but follow with your eyes. And don't stop to understand everything. This builds your muscle memory for fast reading. And then again, pause and after a paragraph, just think about what you've read. What did you pick up from your quick skimming? Another way to practice is practice with a timer. So set a timer and skim a full OET Part C text in 2 minutes. Then write down 3 main points that you picked up, any key words or repeated themes that you picked up, the general tone or attitude that the writer was writing in. Yeah, so, these are 3 practical ways that you can practice your skimming. And with everything, it doesn't come by just doing it once. You have to keep practicing it over and over and over again to get really, really good at it. Other ways you can practice skimming and scanning, skimming in particular, we're just talking about skimming, is read any titles and subheadings, because these can provide a quick review of what's in the paragraph or just the general topic. So if there's any headings, any subheadings, read that because that will give you some information as well quickly. Another way you can do it is reading the introduction and the conclusion. So at the beginning, at the end, because these paragraphs usually give a summary of the topic and the main ideas that are contained in that article. Another way you can practice is reading the first and the last sentence of each paragraph. The first sentence of each paragraph is known as the topic sentence and tells you what that paragraph is about. And then usually the last sentence of that paragraph will kind of sum up that paragraph. So that's another way of just quickly finding out information about what is in that paragraph. Another thing you should look at when you're skimming, and this is where you should always have like a pen or a pencil or a highlighter in your hand. Look for keywords and phrases, anything in bold, anything in italics, anything that's been capitalized, because this indicates important points, things that the writer wants to emphasize. And also words like however, nevertheless, despite this or despite that, having said that. These types of words, they indicate contrast in views or opinions. And it normally shows that, the writer was saying one thing, but now they're saying something else. So, that's usually where a question is based as well. So you definitely want to highlight these. Now, skimming becomes easier with regular practice, and timing yourself makes you exam ready. Doing it in time conditions under pressure will help to really kind of elevate your skimming technique. So what about scanning then? That was skimming. How do we practice scanning? So remember, scanning is when you're looking for that particular tree. You're looking for something in particular, a particular detail. So first of all, before you scan, you need to identify what it is you're looking for. So ask yourself, what am I searching for? Is it a date? Is it a treatment? Is it a name? Is it a side effect? Is it an opinion? What is it? You have to be clear on what you're looking for. So once you know that, you can scan like a laser. Look for that keyword or that idea or whatever it is. Another thing you should keep in mind is that text will always use synonyms and paraphrasing. So the answer, and you know this to be true for OET reading, that the answer might not match the question word for word. So, this is where your vocabulary work comes in. So you have to practice recognizing synonyms. So, for example, if the question says, what is the primary side effect of drug X? The text might say, the most common adverse reaction to drug X is nausea. So primary side effect is the same as most common adverse reaction. So get used to this kind of matching through scanning exercises. So you have to be quite aware of vocabulary as well and be quick to pick up on that. Another way is highlight numbers, dates, and names. It's always good to do that because it just helps you to locate certain bits of information that will come up in the questions. Also practice with different types of texts, articles, books, documents, and this helps to build up your versatility and it broadens your vocabulary and exposure to different types of writing. And it's very, very important. And also, constantly reading OET tests and mock tests and, the extracts it becomes very, very boring. So, expand the scope of your reading, find things on, BBC, on the BBC website, go onto their health section, and look up articles there, look at health journals, and things like that. And anything that you're interested in as well, try to find an article. Perhaps you have a hobby, look up something. It doesn't have to be health related, or medicine related, just read something. And not only does that make it more interesting, you're more likely to read it, and engage with
what you're reading, but it also helps to improve your vocabulary and your range of reading. And when it comes back to, reading OET texts, then it becomes a lot easier. Also do timed practice to improve these skills with speed. That's very, very important. Reading under pressure is a different type of reading. So make sure that you're practicing, you do a lot of practice in timed conditions. And like I've mentioned before, in your reading practice, use a highlighter to mark numbers, years, names, unique terms. Your eyes will learn to catch these during the real test. So, take an OET Part A and choose 3 questions. First, skim all 4 texts to understand what each is about. Then for each question, scan only the most likely text for the answer. Time yourself. Aim to answer all 3 in under 3 minutes. Kind of give that as a challenge for yourself to practice it in timed conditions. Another good technique is to always read the questions before reading the text. And the reason for that is your brain knows what to look for. Scanning becomes more focused and it becomes faster. You have a purpose for the reading. And that's always good to have. It always helps you to locate the answer quickly. And when reading a question, underline keywords, then think of, what kind of word am I looking for in the text? Is it a number? Is it a medical term? Is it a reason? Is it opinion? This trains your brain to hunt quickly and accurately. And use past papers strategically. Don't just do mock tests. Use one text to only practice skimming. Use another to only practice scanning. Isolate the skill, then combine them later for full mock exams. Yeah. So skimming and scanning is not the most exciting thing to do. Yeah. It's quite boring. It takes time to practice over and over again to start seeing an improvement. Like I mentioned at the beginning, just practicing it once and thinking, right, okay, I've done it now. I understand what I'm doing. And you think you're going to become a better reader by just practicing once. I have bad news for you. That's not going to work. These are skills that you need to practice over and over and over and over again to really sharpen it, to really make it something that you do without even thinking, and to build up that speed and accuracy. And it's only when you do it over and over and over again, you start seeing an improvement. So it's not fun, but it needs to be done if you want to improve your scores. And this is the type of work that needs to be done that isn't very attractive, that isn't very fun, but this is what's going to improve your scores. So if you're truly dedicated to improving your scores, then this is the type of work that has to be done. Mastering scanning and skimming isn't about speed reading. Speed reading isn't everything. It's about smart reading, knowing when to slow down and when to fly over the text. Yeah, this is smart reading. And with consistent practice, these skills will become second nature. And so you really, really need to kind of build this in to your practice time when it comes to doing your practice. So don't constantly do mock tests. That's not going to help you improve your scores. If you are not getting beyond, above a certain score in your reading, then you need to take a step back. Stop doing the mock tests and look at the skills. What are you getting wrong? What are the skills that you need to improve on? And usually it's skimming and scanning. It may be vocabulary, it may be something else, but practice these skills. And once you practice and you come to do mock tests again, you will see a huge improvement in your scores for sure. So I hope you found that useful. As always, you can always contact me My contact details are in the show notes. And also, there's a new feature now. You can also send me a direct message, and the link for that is also in the show notes. Until the next episode, take care and keep working hard.
I really hope you found this episode helpful. I always enjoy getting your feedback, so do drop me an email and let me know your thoughts. Also, if there is any aspect of OET, IELTS, or PLAB 2 that you find challenging, then let me know and I'll do an episode on it. In the meantime, thank you for listening and make sure you share this podcast with your colleagues and on social media so more people can benefit. And some parting advice, especially to those who have failed to get the scores that they've needed in the past and are retaking any of these tests. It's not enough to just listen to what you need to do to improve your skills and scores. You must implement the advice and practice. You have to push yourself outside of your comfort zone because that's where real progress is made. Remember, nothing changes if nothing changes. Take care and keep working hard.